social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on Nevis. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving Nevis forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is Thursday, and so that means Speak Up is on your radio. I am Jaedee Caines, and as always, I am joined by Rohan, and we are here every Thursday night for Speak Up. As the introduction suggests, it's a social commentary talk show that seeks to keep you informed and up to date about what's happening in the Nevis Reformation Party, what's happening locally on the island of Nevis, as well as in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We also touch on regional issues as well as international issues from time to time. And so we have a lot to talk about this evening, no exception. And so we are going to jump right in, but allow me to go across the table and say good evening to my colleague, Rohan. Good evening.
Good evening, Jaedee, and good evening to our listeners. Of course, as you said, it's Thursday, and so welcome to another edition of Speak Up. Let me say congratulations to Colin Kezzy Archibald, who scored his maiden first class 100 yesterday against the Windward Islands. Congratulations to him on that accomplishment. In cricket as well, Jaedee, I think we have 4 young women who are in Antigua at the moment for the Leeward Islands women's trials.
Yes.
Melissa, I'm not remembering the last name, but
Clark,
and Sonaldo Bullet would have hit half centuries in one of their games, and I think the other 2, Rosa Liebert and Ashina Freeman, who also they would have done very well. And so we are hoping that the 4 names will be among the 15 selected for the West Indies Senior Championships in Guyana next month. For those of you who are celebrating and have any other particular reason except birthday and anniversary to be celebrating, we are celebrating with you. Congratulations on your achievements. And as usual, if you're going through a difficult period of time, if you're mourning the loss of a loved one, or you're just having a difficult day, remember our thoughts and our prayers are with you, and we encourage you to continue to hold on to God's unchanging hand.
Yes, in the spirit of congratulations, allow me to jump in here and offer congratulations to another classmate of mine, Shervin Green, who has been awarded it's the top assistant coach in his region. Shervin Green, as you know, is attached to Monroe College. He has been doing some great things. Yep. He left Nevis as an athlete straight out of the Charlestown Primary School, I might add. Yes, and so he was always an athlete, always very passionate about sport, and it's good to see that he is in the United States of America and still contributing to sport and sport development. So I am so happy for you, Shervin. Congratulations. For those who do not know, Shervin Carey Green is the son of Bonnie Carey of Craddock Road, nephew of Sinwick and Claire Carey. You know that family? Yes, that's Shervin Green. So congrats to Shervin. Also want to say congrats to, she's not a classmate of mine, but her mother was my classmate, Kalia Huggins, daughter of Sherez Huggins, granddaughter of Wendell Huggins. So, you know, annually we have this thing called the Junior Tourism competition, Tourism Youth Congress rather. Yes. And whoever emerges the winner becomes the Junior Minister of Tourism. And so this time around it was Kalia Huggins, former student of the Maud Cross Preparatory School, now a student of the Charlestown Secondary School. So we say heartiest congratulations to Kalia and everyone else who is doing a wonderful job, in whatever area you are excelling. Keep up the great work. And of course, Rohan already singled out the female cricketers and Kezzy. We know him, a lot of us here call him Kezzy, and I know Mommy Selma is smiling down on you. So keep up the great work, Kezzy. Stay focused. Good to see all the visions doing well, Rohan.
Yep. I mean, we've danced. They say we dance here, and now we're dancing abroad, and so it's good to see that they're doing well. And we continue to encourage them and to support them to continue to autograph their life's work with excellence, and hopefully we'll see them on a grander stage. We're looking forward to seeing our women at the regional level and hopefully at the international level. And hopefully that looking forward to seeing Keswin as well break through to the West Indies senior team. It's been a while since we've had a left arm seamer, and so hopefully he gets that opportunity sooner rather than later. And as you said, Chauvin is a prolific coach now, and at the rate he's going, that award will soon be named after him. He's been consistently awarded that particular prize, and I wish him all the best in his endeavors. Hopefully he'll take the next step and go up to head coach and continue to succeed there. And I want to challenge him at some point in time to come home. His expertise is required here on Nevis.
I'm glad that you said that. Chauvin, don't let him know that you and I have spoken. We're going to keep that to ourselves for now. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot is happening. A lot is happening in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is the political season. Even though no date has yet been announced for the federal elections, we know that is around the corner. And I am one who believes strongly that the local election, Nevis Island Assembly elections, is also around the corner. And so I am keeping my eyes and ears peeled, because we will have 2 elections this year. We will have 2 elections this year. But let's focus for a minute on the federal elections, because, you know, it's a season when you will be seeing launches. As a matter of fact, the Concerned Citizens Movement launched on the weekend its 3 candidates for the upcoming federal elections. I want to congratulate them for, you know, coming forward and offering themselves, albeit it's the same persons who were recently representing us and before they were dismissed in the federal parliament rather. Nonetheless, we congratulate the CCM for, you know, announcing its candidates. The NRP has already selected its candidates, and we will be announcing our candidates really soon. As a matter of fact, we are looking to have that done next week. So the countdown is on, and you will hear a lot more about that. I encourage you to stick and stay to the NRP social media pages so that you can stay informed and up to date. Mind you, I've said time and time again, it's important to listen across the media in terms of news, meaning you don't just listen to one radio station or read one newspaper. You try to get a balanced view, and that's the same thing I encourage as it relates to the elections. You want to hear what both sides are saying. You want to hear what the NRP is saying. You want to hear what the CCM is saying, and that way you can make an informed decision. And I can say that with confidence, because if you are to listen to both sides objectively, you will choose the Nevis Reformation Party. So I can say that with utmost confidence. Now, Rohan, some people have been asking, why is a federal government important? Why is it important for us at this point in time? What do you say?
Well, federal governments are important not just here in our setup, but across the globe. You'd recognize that there are certain things that federal governments are better suited for in terms of looking after general populace in certain areas. It's just how things are set up. You get certain cover as well in certain areas. One would recognize that in this arrangement, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, foreign affairs, defense, certain other areas, aviation, has a higher level in terms of relationships with other countries, and so that is required for us at a local level. In other sense, the federal government here, and this has been my position, is that there has to be some level of constitutional reform for it to be as effective as it should be. We have a federal system where Nevis, to an extent, is the only island in the federation that benefits from that kind of arrangement, so to speak, because we have a local assembly. We go about managing our own affairs in certain respects, and then of course we benefit from those national assets that brings benefits to the country, money or otherwise. Of course, you're talking international grants and receipts from the CBI program. And so we really ought to look at restructuring our government or having constitutional reform that allows for the federal level to be above local level on both ends.
Okay.
And then we can have a clearer look and understanding of how certain things ought to be shared, and maybe very well we may get out of this pickle that we are in terms of how much is due and how much isn't due and all those kind of things. But federal government serve its purpose in areas where you're talking about negotiation at a higher level.
Okay.
Of course, in St. Kitts and Nevis terms, the Federation, Nevis can't do certain things. The federal government has to do that. Getting loans at certain levels is also part of that process as well. But yeah, I mean, that's basic. Basic in terms of what benefits you get from that. Of course, those of us who think about going off to study, and there's the economic costs and all of those kind of things. Federal government has the pulse on in that regard, and you'll hear people talk about guaranteed and pharmaceuticals and all those kind of things. So there are benefits to federal government.
Now, Rohan, the reason why I put that out there is because I know you know, because you know a lot about governance, and we grew up in the youth parliament system, so we have an idea of what's happening. However, I want people to start to think about it. Think about why we are voting in a federal election, and what does it mean for the people of Nevis. Because I know quite often some people say, I am more comfortable voting in the local election,
yeah,
and I can't be bothered with the federal election. And I think that we need to really get away from that, because I mean, you sitting back and deciding that you won't have a say, because that, in essence, that's exactly what you're doing. You are giving another person or other people the opportunity to make that decision for you. But guess what? It is not they alone who have to deal with the consequences. It is all of us who will have to deal with the consequences as well as reap the benefits. So it is very important that we go out and exercise our franchise in both federal and local election. And I have every confidence in the candidates that the NRP, I have every confidence in the NRP generally. In the NRP. The NRP has been the party that has come forward time and time again to roll out projects and programs and deliver for our people. When we do things in the Nevis Reformation Party, whether locally or federally, we have always been able to impact the people of Nevis, because we want to ensure that the people of Nevis are taken care of. They are the ones who elect us, and so they are the ones who should reap whatever benefits are there to be gained from us doing well or from us having a seat at the table. Now, why should the NRP contest this federal election? What do you think, Rohan?
Well, it is clear that the NRP represents almost half of the voting populace. In its natural numbers. Of course, you have those who stay in the middle, you call them swing voters. Why it is important? It is simply because we must provide solutions to problems that we are facing. And the current arrangement we are seeing, or the current representation that we have, I'll cast it as a problem.
Yes.
The NRP represents an opportunity for a new direction, an opportunity to make things work the way they ought to work. And if we are at that point where we find that it is not working, I am confident, just like you, that the candidates can provide a different avenue. And I speak about that in terms of what we see is that when it comes to federal representation, people need to understand that a lot of times you go to Bastille, and because of how the arrangement is, unless you have certain kind of ministries and portfolios, you're really working for the St. Kitts government. That is basic fact.
Yeah.
And so what needs to happen, and this is what the NRP is about, is getting to a point where division representation or division ministers means division representation. That if you're in Bastille, sent by the people of Nevis, you're working to find solution to problems divisions have. You're working to bring relief to the people of Nevis. Notwithstanding your portfolio, of course, you have those responsibilities, but at the end of the day, it must mean something that you are sent from Nevis.
Correct.
To do some work on behalf of the people of Nevis. And so things we talk about, we've heard much about the double salary. Those things, we have got to get to the point where those things are not used as emotional tangibles that make you feel good and say, you get a double.
Yes.
But really a part of the system that says this is really your money and that you are getting it at the end of the year. I mean, we've got to get to the point, to Jaedee, that when we talk about representation, that people feel the representation.
Yes.
That if we are having a housing project at the national level, that somewhere in Gingerland, somewhere in Charlestown, somewhere in St. Thomas, somewhere in St. Paul's, or somewhere in St. John's, that somebody is benefiting from a national program.
Yes, yes.
And that is what the NRP is designated or looking to do. That is what we intend to do. And we really want Nevisions to understand that when we talk about parliamentarians from Nevis in a federal government, that it speaks to
something.
Representation, and you're actually seeing it.
I want to jump in here and say this. Now, I have never really liked this idea of Nevisions vying for a seat at the federal level and ending up in St. Kitts on the opposition side every time.
Yeah,
right? I have, of course, you must have an opposition. You must have and a vigorous one at that. But it always bothered me that Nevisions seemed to have to occupy, or for most times occupy, the opposition benches even when they would have been successful. I have an issue with that. And so when the parties on Nevis, that's the CCM and the NRP, decided that, listen, hey, this is what we want to do. When we go to St. Kitts, we are saying that we are going to ensure that we are part of, if successful, we are part of the government. And I thought that was a good argument on both sides. I really thought that was a good argument on both sides.
Okay.
And so I understand why a lot of Nevisions voted for not CCM, PAM, or PLP, but they voted for Team Unity because they felt at that time that represented the best choice for the island of Nevis. And so I have no issues with anybody who took that route. This is what I'm saying. As it is right now, we are hearing, because you see what happened in that arrangement, but as it is right now, we are still hearing this level of division where it is being said that it will be the CCM and the PAM. CCM and the People's Action Movement. I am not hearing any discussion of being able or being willing to work with anybody else.
Yeah.
It's CCM and PAM.
That's it.
That's it. By contrast, we in the NRP are not saying that. We are saying that this Nevis Reformation Party is ready. We stand ready and willing to work with any government in St. Kitts that has the interest of the people of Nevis at heart. Because the interest of the people of Nevis must be a priority for us. For us. We have no issue with you ensuring that the people of St. Kitts are a priority. But there is no St. Kitts government. There's a government of St. Kitts Nevis, and there is a Nevis government. So I am sorry if I'm offending anyone, but the reality is, for us, we have to ensure that the people of Nevis are priority. And to achieve that, we are saying we are willing to work with any party that is willing, that ensures that Nevis is a priority. And that is stark contrast. That in essence is what we need at this point in time. We can't go back to the same thing or else we'll end up in the same situation. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. And what has been happening, ladies and gentlemen, is that we continue to preach this toxic vibe. There's a toxic environment right now in St. Kitts and Nevis, and it is coming from the Premier of Nevis, and I am so disappointed. Not surprised, but disappointed. And when his colleagues sit back and say nothing, or even egg him on, then I'm disappointed in them as well. Because we can't continue to preach this Nevis versus St. Kitts type of mentality. And that is what we're doing. It's Nevis versus St. Kitts. We can't continue to preach this locals versus non-nationals mentality. That's what we're doing. We can't continue to preach this CCM versus NRP mentality. That is what we are doing. That cannot be right. And so, Before we switch quickly to the next topic, I just want to remind the people of Nevis. Yes, like you, I want us to have good, strong representation in St. Kitts. Like you, I want us to have people in St. Kitts who are not afraid to speak up for the people of Nevis. But what I also want is to ensure that at the end of the day, the people of Nevis see real benefits. What good is it to go to St. Kitts, speak as loud, pound your chest, do a song and dance, jump on the table, and you come back home with nothing? What good is jumping in a car and you have no gas? What is this? So we have to think long and hard about these things. Rohan, today we had the Premier giving his monthly press conference, hosting his monthly press conference, and I want to take this opportunity now to invite the Premier to listen to Vaughan Radio throughout the day. You will find that there's a program called Community Calendar that you can utilize, because to me, and I'm being quite honest, somebody who has a wealth of experience in the media, I feel that the Premier's press conference has become some sort of a community calendar show. I mean, there's nothing of substance. It's just, I'm giving you the information and that's it. That's it. You know, I mean, we could have get that in an email. We could have get that in community calendar. We need to do better. We need to do better. Not when we hear from you just once a month. You got to come with something better than that. That's not good enough. But we also heard from Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge on issues. Rohan, what did you think about her performance? Why?
Well, class personified. We know our leader. And we know our leader isn't one to huff and puff and, you know, chest out and carry on and get on. She's clear, she's concise, she's calm, she's well versed and knowledgeable on the issues, and she knows exactly where she wants to take Nevis. She knows what she doesn't want for the people of Nevis, and because of that clarity, we are confident that the NRP will assume governance of this island after the next local election. But I wasn't. There was no surprise for me hearing our party leader, because we have heard her time and time again, whether in closed meetings or otherwise, and so Dr. Daniel delivered as we expected her to deliver, sharing with us clearly the blueprint of how we could have avoided the current situation we are in, and exactly what the NRP intends to do, having been successful at the federal level. And so, I mean, we are all geared up and ready to support and to push in a direction that the party leader intends to redound to the benefit of the vision. So no surprise on our performances today.
Yes, I totally agree with you, and this is what we want. We want leaders who will speak and speak substance. We want to ensure that our leaders are out there focusing on the issues and not personalities. We don't want leaders who use their time attacking people or having other people attack people. That's not what we want. We want real representation. We want people who care about the job that they are applying for. We want people who have a proven track record of performance. That is what we want. And at this point in time, we can only get that from the Nevis Reformation Party. When I listened to the Premier's press conference today, Rohan, you know, he spoke a lot. I mean, I agree with him. You know, you talk about the Atlantic hurricane season, you let people know, you know, what's coming up. You know, he spoke about that. And rather than, to me, it was a defense mechanism when people asked about the water situation. Because, I mean, don't fool yourself. We see notices going out that there's a water rationing schedule from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. in some places, but really and truly it's way longer than that in many areas, you know. But we won't talk about that. Instead, we get defensive and we start to curse and say what the NRP did and did not do. The NRP has not been in office in Nevis since 2013. So I am not sure why to this date we are still blaming the Nevis Reformation Party. You have had 9 years. 9 years and you are still focused on the NRP. Then we talked about the Culturama, and you know, I'm looking forward to Culturama. We talked about the Culturama and saying, you know, that we're going to have a launch soon. all of these are good things, but you want to tell me that the Premier of Nevis has nothing else to report? That is what Von Radio's community calendar is for. We talk about healthcare. I am waiting to hear of this revolutionary thing that we have coming. And you know what really moved me, Rohan? When he spoke about the fact that he mentioned something is going to be good for when we get the dialysis center. And I'm like, you have the nerve to mention dialysis? We have the nerve to mention dialysis. Listen, guys, if you hear passion in my voice, it's because I'm really passionate about these things. You know, at my age, I would have benefited a lot from things that people before, politicians before put in place, leaders before put in place. I want to ensure that the children now can benefit from what we are putting in place. The reality is our current crop of leaders are inept, they are out of ideas, and they have confusion. They have all kind of drama all about the place, who they push aside, who they don't want. I mean, all these things. Who go into the gates of hell. I mean, that is what we are talking about in Nevis. Serious times calls for serious people. And people talking about which private part should run the government, and them foolishness there. So, because my private part is different, I can't be in government. These are the kind of insulting statements that are made on a political platform by our leaders, and we need to speak up about it, Rohan.
Well, definitely NAP is not going to take anybody to any gate, near any hell. And nobody from NAP is going to go into any hell to see if it is safe. I don't know how that could make sense, but that is the nature of that beast. What I found and has been happening time and time again is that areas where you should get more, where people are really salivating for something that says, here is hope for a better tomorrow.
Yes.
With some kind of backdrop to it that says there's a possibility, a 99% possibility that is going to happen. But yet, we had an arrangement with BNL for the airport that gone through the door. Now, we in talks. We're always in talks.
Always.
That seems to be the thing, and maybe they should change from CCM to talk. Anyway, listen, it's time to vote NRP.
It is.
I think we have had enough of the long-winded speeches and the self-aggrandizement and the posturing that seeks to do no good to anybody, save and except to give some people an earful of nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we wind down, I want to remind you that the NRP St. Paul's Group is having a breakfast sale this coming Saturday at Boko Park. That's at the top of Government Road, and this time around, our proceeds will go in aid, or to help rather, a Government Road resident in the person of Colleen Forbes with her medical expenses. So it's a really, really good cause. We want as many of you as possible to come out and support this breakfast sale. And finally, allow me to remind you, next week Friday, you ain't going nowhere else but the Villa Grounds, because the NRP will be launching its federal candidates, and we come in with a bang, because it is time to get proper representation for Nevis at the federal level. We want competence, not incompetence. We want leaders, not people who will insult you. We want the Nevis Reformation Party.
Join Jaedee Caines and Rohan this and every Thursday on the Caribbean's powerhouse, Von Radio, for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on Nevis. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving Nevis forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcast